So today I'm going to be looking at another interesting Excel function that is useful for HR data analysis, where I'm going to be looking at Excel's aggregate function. An aggregate function in Excel are functions that help us to create certain functions like sum, average, count within a data set. And we're going to get into Excel now to practicalize the critical ones that are useful for HR data analysis. So some of the critical Excel aggregate functions are your sum, your average, your count, your SUMIF, your SUMIFS, COUNTIFS, average, maximum, minimum, and I'm going to be practicalizing them. And for this, I'm going to be using this particular Excel data here as a sample data. Just looking through that data, I have 77 rows of data, and I also have employee ID, employee name, monthly pay, position, and all of that. I'm going to turn this into an Excel table. This is a very useful feature in Excel that helps us to analyze data better. And I'm also going to be naming that Excel table that makes my analysis very clean and tidy. Just go to Home tab, then you pick your format as a table. Pick anyone you want. Yes, my table has headers, and this comes as an absolute reference. And I'll put that in, and there I have it. I'm going to be naming this table, and I'm just naming it HR data. HR underscore data. So I'm going to call that HR data, and I've named all of that, and you'll see the reason in a bit. Now, the first thing I want to do is that I want to count. So you notice I needed to do a manual counting earlier on to know how many rows of data are there. But the count function in Excel helps me to do that faster. And all I need to do is equals to count, and you see it will count the numbers of cells in a row that contains numbers. So I want to count how many rows of data here. So let's take, for example, what's the head count? And I'm going to be using the count function to do that. So I'll pick count. Now I need to pick each of the values one after the other, but in this case I only need to pick a range of value. And once I pick the employee IDs, which are very distinct, which means there are no duplicate of the employee IDs, then I'll be able to know how many rows of data are there. And for that, remember I named this data earlier on, so I'm going to invoke my naming HR data, and I'm going to pick one of the columns of that data, and I will use my square bracket, and here you see all the list, that you see the magic of naming my Excel table. And also this is what I wanted to actually achieve, so that I don't need to be using cell referencing to bring out the role. I only need to bring out the role I'm interested in. So I'll use the employee ID role, I'll bring it in, I'll close my square bracket, and I enter. Now, this is what, remember I found 77 data. So that is where the count function as an aggregate function comes in. It will go in and count the numbers of data that I have here. And I can do that on any of this data. Now, the beauty about it is that it will count what I have. Now, imagine I want to count I want to do some counting based on some particular criteria. That's where your COUNTIF comes in. What does your COUNTIF do? So let me write it out so that you can see. COUNTIF. So what your COUNTIF does in Excel is, one, it will count the numbers of cells within a range that meet a given condition. What I did the first time was I counted all the rows of data. Now imagine I want to now count the numbers of the department in terms of admin offices. If you look at the departmental level, you will notice that their department, these are the various departments. There's admin office, IT and IS, production, sales, and software. So what if I want to count without filtering? I want the numbers of employees, the head count of the admin offices, sales, and production. That is where your COUNTIF comes in, because there's now a condition. Remember when I wrote the count function, I only picked everything in employee ID. I just pick one of the rows of data, but now I want to count based on a criteria. So I'll count if I'll open. What is the criteria? What am I trying? What is the range? Which means I want to count the numbers of employees in the admin office. So it means that the column that contains the admin office is my range. That's where Excel is going to count from. So I'm going to evoke my data. Remember, I've named it my table. Then open bracket. Then I'll go to the department. I'll pick that. Then I'll close my square brackets. That's the range. Now, what is the criteria? The criteria is I want Excel to count admin office. So I'll point to the admin office because I already have it there. So it means Excel will go within that range. Anywhere it sees admin office is going to return the numbers of occurrence of the admin office, which gives me the head count. And I'll close the bracket and I enter. So what Excel has done is Excel has gone into that range of data on the department and counted the numbers of times we have people in the admin office. If you want to confirm that, just come here and do a filter, which is what you will have done normally. Admin office, how many people? 10 out of 77 record. That's what you'll have noticed. But Excel has done that. I don't need to be doing this manual process again. So I need to now auto fill down. Then I know how many people is in sales and how many people is in production. That is where your count functionality comes in. Now, if you now look at the COUNTIF functionality, COUNTIF count one formula, when you see the word COUNTIFS, it means it's checking more than one criteria. So, and I want to, this time around, I want to check individuals in the admin office that are married, individuals in the admin office that are single. That's where the complexity comes in. And you'll notice that means I'm going to be doing two filters. If I wanted to do that the novice way of using Excel, what I would normally do is to say, okay, fine, how many people is in the admin office? I filter this, then I now go to the marital description and I'll say how many people is married, then I'll get a value. That's a bit long. That means 7 individual. But what if I don't have the luxury of that? This is a 77 row data. What if it's more than 77? It would be a lot. All I needed to do is to use the COUNTIF functions. Now you need to follow the argument COUNTIFS. Now it counts in numbers of cells specified by a given set of criteria, more than one criteria, more than one condition. I will start. What is the criteria? The criteria range for the first, in this case, I want Excel to go in and make a particular count, but take note, what is the criteria range for one? So what it means is that I want Excel to go to the department, that's the first column, and check what are the admin offices that are there. Then secondly, I want it to go to the marital description and count the numbers of married. So the department is the first range. The criteria will be admin office. Then the second criteria will be go into the marital description column and check how many employees that are married. So I'll start for the first range. I'll evoke my data sets, open brackets, my square brackets. Now I pick department, close. Then what's the first criteria? I'll point to admin office. And I'm going to, then the next one is the second criteria, which is the column where the marital description is. And I will pick square brackets, marital description, close bracket. Then what's the range? The range is, or the criteria is going to be married. So I point to the married and I close bracket and enter. So remember I had 7 earlier. Now, if I now needed to write all of this for each of this, I need to do one simple modification, and that is cell reference. Since I'm going to be changing this down, I need to do a quick cell reference such that Excel will only pick from this row alone. So I'll put my $sign. Yeah. And for the second one, I want you to only pick from row 18. I'll put my $sign here. And if I press enter now, and I now autofill that formula, it will now give me result. And for the second one, I will need to make some changes. So for the second one, I'm going to write again, and I'm going to write now COUNTIFS. What's the range again? Remember, HR data. Go to the column for department, square bracket, department. What's the criteria? We're going to be checking for this. Then the second criteria range, which is the column where I have the marital description, close brackets, then the criteria is single. And there you have it. 2 individuals are single. And let's check the second one. Yes, there's a problem. I need to put my cell reference such that this locks it down here, such that it is not moving. Then if I autofill my formula now, then I should have an answer. So there you have it. That is looking at count, COUNTIF, and COUNTIFS, which is a very critical aggregate function in Excel. The next one is the sum. I'm going to look at sum, SUMIF, and SUMIFS. So sum function is very critical, is actually very useful in Excel. So if I want to sum, I would evoke my data. And this time around, let me say I want to sum up the age, or let me say I want to sum up the monthly salary, and monthly pay is in the column. There's a column for monthly pay here. So that gives me the total salary paid per month for all our employees. And there you have it. I have the total sum. I can also do that within the Excel table. I only need to go to Excel table, go to table design, and toggle totals row, and come to where the monthly pay is, and just pick sum here. So that is also a confirmation. That gives you the same value as I had here, which is the sum. The same way average, that is the same way average also works. So I'm going to do average now. Average returns the arithmetic mean. So if I want to look at the average salary, for example, and I will come here and I will evoke my data. That's the beauty of naming. So this is me taking into advanced HR data analysis. You name your data. Now it's called name range. Then I will pick my monthly pay. And you can see it's already outlined. So if you see as I'm working, you see that Excel has actually labeled the column. This is a faster way of me doing any shortcuts within there, because Excel is, I've named all my data, and that gives me the average salary. So if I want to check that, I can actually use the Excel table functionality to do that as well. I'll come here and I'll pick average. So you see 4,466, exactly the same thing formatted, and that's where you have it. And you see the sum functionality as well. Now the next question is maximum. So if I want to find the maximum monthly salary, I only need to use the Excel function of maximum. It returns the largest value within a data set. So I'll pick that, and I'll use the same thing, evoke my data sets, pick the column using my square bracket, which is the column for monthly salary, close bracket, and enter. And you'll see that Excel has actually highlighted all of that. And there you have it. That's the maximum salary. How do I confirm that? I go to monthly pay, and I can just scroll down, and you can see that the maximum salary is 6,500. That beautiful. Then what's the minimum? The same calculation. I pick my data set, and I pick my salary range, my salary column, monthly pay, close bracket, and I enter. Then I have the minimum salary, and I can confirm from there that the minimum is 1,600. Beautiful. That confirms. Interesting aggregate function. Then the remaining aggregate function I'm going to be looking at is the SUMIF and the SUMIFS. SUMIF is one criteria, SUMIFS is 2 or more criteria. So now the question is this: what is the total salaries for everybody in admin, in sales, and in production? I'm going to be using the SUMIF for that. Then I'll make it more complex. So what is the total salary for those in admin, married? So for this, I'll say was the total salary for those, total salary of those in admin. So let's do that using the SUMIF. So what does SUMIF does? It adds cells specific to a given condition. One single condition is required. Now, in this case, what's the range? I want you to go to HR data, check the column of departments, basically. Remember, go into the departmental column, check for admin offices. Once you check admin offices, then sum once you check admin, the next conversation is what's the sum range. So once it checks into the department, it picks the criteria I've set out, which is admin offices. It now goes into which range should Excel sum up for me, and that is the monthly salary range. So I'll revoke the monthly salary range, then I'll pick monthly, close it, and enter. So what does Excel do? Excel goes in and find the total salary for everybody within admin for me, and I press enter. So that's what it is. I can do a quick confirmation, but before I do that, let me just make sure that this is in total, is in sum. Then I will do this, admin offices. What's the total salary? 31. Confirmed, and I'll go back and I'll see it is also 31. Beautiful. And you could do confirmation for the other ones. The last one, which is a bit too criteria, and I'll just make it simple. Let me just copy this up here, and the two things I want to do is I just want to check these two criteria. Let me just check these two criteria. I want to find out the total monthly salary for employees in the admin department that are married. So let's do that. SUMIFS. So SUMIF is more than one condition or criteria. So I open bracket. Please follow the argument. Sum range. This is easier. What do I need to return? Monthly salary. So that is the sum range for me. Once you define what you're looking for, then you can plug it into the argument. I want it to return monthly salary. But now I'm adding a condition. The condition is that go to department, find those in admin department. That's the criteria range 1. So HR department, what's the range where I'm going to find them? I'm going to find them in the department column. And you could see that Excel is already indicating, if you're following you can see Excel has highlighted the first one, the monthly salary highlighted. The second one also, the department is now highlighted, which is the criteria. What do I want Excel to do? I want Excel to check for admin offices. That's what I'm asking Excel to do. What's the second criteria? Check the HR file again, the data again, and check where the marital description is, which is this, the row for marital description. Okay, I need to close that for it to give me. Okay, so you can see it in green. That's it, marital description, already highlighted by Excel already. So you can see all those 3 criteria already highlighted, or ranges I'm using already highlighted. Then what is the criteria? That's the next one, comma, then married, and close the bracket. So what Excel has done is that Excel has gone into that data set, check employees in the admin department that are married, and has returned the total monthly salary for me. The beauty of aggregate function in Excel, it's very interesting. If I need to make that confirmation quickly, all I need to do, let me take note of the value. The value is 25,040. So I'm come here, department admin, married is the conversation. Boom. Can you see? Beauty of SUMIF. These are very useful aggregate functions that is very useful for HR data analysis. If you're able to master this aggregate function, then your ability to go into your HR data increases a notch higher. I want to believe you've been enjoying this series so far. If you have, kindly smash the like button. Let me know you like it. Drop your comment. Let's engage, and I'll see you in the next video.